You ever get hit with something so ridiculous your brain just kind of throws up? That was me, last Tuesday, standing in the middle of my living room, holding a half-eaten burrito, rereading the text my mom just sent. Your brother's made a mistake. We all deserve second chances. You're going to give him your car. We'll explain when you get here. Not. Can we talk? Not. Is that even possible for you? Just a royal decree from the Ministry of Parental Delusion. Let me back up. My name's Tyler Reynolds. 26. HVAC tech. I install things that make people's houses cooler than my family ever made me feel growing up. I live alone in a one-bedroom apartment that smells like old carpet and ambition, and I own exactly 3 things that spark joy: my recliner, my espresso machine, and my 2010 Toyota Corolla. That Corolla? Bought it myself. Saved for it myself. Maintained it myself. It's not flashy, but it's mine. My first real purchase that didn't come with someone else's name on the paperwork. And it gets me to job sites on time, which pays the bills, which buys the burritos. Chase, my younger brother, is 24 and allergic to responsibility. He's crashed more cars than I've test-driven. But he's charming. He's got that, just misunderstood, energy that makes adults forgive things that would get anyone else evicted from polite society. His latest stunt? Wrecked his third car, a cherry red SUV our parents bought him for his birthday, while drag racing a guy he met on a Discord server. At midnight. While allegedly sober adjacent. Now he's fine. Physically. Emotionally, Chase always bounces back faster than logic. The car? Not so much. And apparently, the solution was for me to give him mine. Because, quote, he deserves a second chance. My Corolla was about to become a second chance offering on the altar of Chase's recklessness. I showed up to my parents' house the next evening. They live in the same 2-story colonial I grew up in. It still smells like fabric softener and misplaced expectations. My mom met me at the door with a smile so forced I thought her cheekbones might file for a divorce. Oh good, honey, you're here. No hug. Just a nod toward the kitchen. My dad was already at the table, flipping through a catalog he'd never buy anything from. Chase? Sprawled across the couch in the living room like a Roman emperor in recovery, ice pack on his shoulder, phone in hand. Ty, he called out, grinning. Sup, bro? Sup, I said flatly. We sat down. And the pitch began. It was like a TED Talk, if the theme was, let's ruin Tyler's week. My mom talked about forgiveness. My dad mumbled something about family unity. Chase contributed by eating chips and occasionally pretending to nod at serious moments. And then my mom said it. He deserves a second chance. I waited for the punchline. Nothing. You want me to give him my car? I repeated. It's just until he gets back on his feet, she said. His feet were on the gas when he ran a red light doing 80. My dad sighed. He's under a lot of pressure. He was racing for a Spotify playlist shout-out. The logic was paper-thin. Their faces were sincere. That's the part that messed me up the most. They really believed this made sense. And somewhere deep down, I realized, they expected me to say yes. Because I was the good one. The reliable one. The one who never made waves. The support beam they forgot was load-bearing. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just sat there, looking at these people who raised me and thought, oh, this is who you are. Then I nodded. Okay, I said. Just that. My mom smiled like she'd solved world hunger. My dad looked relieved. Chase high-fived the air. I walked out of that house an hour later, my hands in my pockets, my stomach in knots. I didn't say what I was thinking. But I was already making a plan. It didn't hit me until the next morning, how casually I just agreed to hand over the only vehicle I owned. Like it was an old hoodie or a spare phone charger. I woke up in a haze, staring at the ceiling fan spinning like it had more direction than my family's moral compass. Then I checked my texts. From Mom. Let us know when you're bringing the car. Chase wants to grab lunch after. From Chase. Yo, can you leave gas in it? That one really sent me. I lay there for a good 20 minutes, phone on my chest, listening to the soft hum of my neighbor's terrible music through the wall. EDM at 7:30 a.m. A metaphor for everything wrong in my life. I finally rolled out of bed, made the world's angriest espresso, and sat on the edge of my kitchen counter, staring at my Corolla keys like they were loaded with explosives. Because they kinda were. This wasn't just a car. This was freedom. Reliability. Independence. It was waking up and knowing I could leave a job site and grab takeout without begging someone for a ride or waiting an hour for a bus that may or may not smell like expired lunch meat. This car was the one thing I owned that my parents hadn't given me, which meant it was the one thing they couldn't take back. Until now. And the thing is, I knew how this would play out. I'd seen the pattern before. Every time Chase messed up, they cleaned it up. Every time I held it together, they asked me to give a little more. Because being dependable in my family was treated like a bank account with infinite balance. Tyler won't mind. Tyler's fine. He'll understand. But I wasn't fine. I was tired. Tired of being the family's emotional donor. At lunch, I met up with Sam, my best friend since high school and the only person who's ever seen me cry over a flat tire and still handed me a cheeseburger like it was a therapy session. He slid into the booth across from me at Benny's Diner, took one look at my face, and said, "All right. Who died or demanded your kidney?" "Neither," I said. "My parents just want my car." He paused, holding his fries midair. "Like to borrow?" "No. Like to give to Chase. Permanently." Sam blinked. "Did he lose both legs?" "Nope. Just wrecked his third vehicle doing donuts near a Walgreens." He set his fries down, very gently. "And they want you to just, what, hand him yours. Apparently I'm the designated donor. The good son discount." Sam let out a low whistle. "Bro. That's Olympic-level audacity." I nodded slowly. "They said he deserves a second chance." He leaned back in the booth, arms crossed. "When was his first chance? Or second? Or fifth?" "Exactly." We sat in silence while our sandwiches arrived. Mine had extra mustard, his had bacon and wisdom. He finally said, "So what are you gonna do?" And I realized I hadn't decided yet. Because deep down, some little voice was still whispering, "Maybe they'll appreciate you for this." And that voice? That was the problem. Back home, I opened my closet and stared at my uniform shirts. Worn, grease-stained, sleeves slightly faded from the sun. Each one represented a week I'd worked to save for that car. Each shift I took when someone else called out. Each missed birthday, each skipped dinner, each overtime request I said yes to because no one else would. And now I was supposed to erase all of that, for Chase? I sat down on the edge of my bed, holding my keys. They jingled in my hand, a sound that used to mean freedom. Now, it just sounded like resignation. I texted my mom. "I need a few days to sort things out. I'll let you know." She replied instantly. "Of course. Just don't wait too long. Chase is kind of stuck right now." Yeah. So was I. By day 3, my apartment felt less like a home and more like a hostage negotiation center. I hadn't brought the car. I hadn't answered Chase's calls. I hadn't replied to my mom's emoji-stuffed, checking-in, texts. But I had, against my better judgment, opened a group chat my parents created. Titled, Family Support Thread Red Heart. There were 3 messages when I joined. "Mom. Hope you're doing okay, sweetie. Chase is still waiting. Maybe tomorrow?" Dad. "Son. Let's be reasonable. This isn't about sides. Chase. Bro, I literally can't DoorDash without your car. RNL male loudly crying face, help you boy out." I left the chat mid-scroll. Then I made eggs. Furious eggs. Have you ever cracked an egg so hard the yolk flies out like it's trying to escape the situation too? That was breakfast. Then I headed to work, because while Chase was carless and in recovery, I still had ductwork to inspect in an attic that felt like Satan's armpit in July. As I was driving, my Corolla hummed under me like it always did. No weird noises. AC running strong. Reliable. loyal. And I realized, this car was more emotionally supportive than my entire family. That night, as I sat back in my apartment, feet up on the coffee table, trying to decompress with a burrito bowl and an episode of that show where people renovate houses they clearly can't afford, I got the call. Dad. Which was rare. He only called for 3 reasons. Someone died. The Wi-Fi was down. He needed to say something. Man to man. I let it ring. Then answered. Tyler, he said, his tone already disappointed. Hi. We're confused. You agreed to this. Now you're dragging your feet. I never gave a date. Don't play games. Chase needs help. Chase needs a bus pass. Silence. Then, he's your brother. You two used to be close. No, you used to say we were close. Mostly when you needed me to cover for him. Another long pause. Then came the sigh. The dad sigh. You know the one, it's like a foghorn of judgment and generational denial. You're being selfish. I blinked. I'm being selfish, because I don't want to give away my only car? He doesn't have another option. He had 3. You've always been so difficult about family. That was it. That was the straw. I didn't even touch my burrito bowl after that. Just stared at it like it had personally betrayed me. The next morning, I went to the DMV website and started looking up how to transfer a vehicle. Not to Chase. To anyone but Chase. Then I opened my browser and typed, how to sell your car fast without getting scammed. And that's when I knew, this wasn't about getting even. It was about being done. Done trying to earn their approval by sacrificing things they never gave me. Done being the good soldier while Chase moonwalked through consequences. Done pretending I didn't see the pattern, the favoritism, the gaslighting, the quiet erosion of my boundaries disguised as helping. I was so tired. And this time, I wasn't just tired, I was awake. 2 days later, I listed the car. Clean photos. Honest description. Fair price. And within 24 hours? I had a buyer. A woman named Claudia, mid-30s, needed a dependable car for her commute. Paid in full. No haggling. Didn't even flinch when I said it was a Corolla. She handed me the cash and smiled. You have no idea how much this means to me, she said. I did. I really did. As I handed her the keys, something in my chest nodded. For the first time in weeks, I could breathe again. The morning I sold the car, I woke up with a strange sense of calm. Not joy. Not even relief. Just clarity. Like my brain finally stopped buffering. I stood in the kitchen with a mug of coffee and stared at the empty spot in the parking lot where my Corolla used to sit. Funny, it was just metal and paint, but it had held so much. And now? Gone. Just like my patience. I picked up my phone and called a taxi. Yeah, a real one. Yellow, boxy, smelled faintly of pine and bad decisions. It pulled up 20 minutes later, and the driver didn't ask questions when I gave him the address. My parents' house. But this time, I wasn't bringing a casserole of forgiveness. I was coming to say goodbye. The ride over was quiet. I watched the trees blur past and tried not to replay old conversations in my head, but my brain was on a nostalgia loop. Chase's 6th grade birthday party where he got a new bike and I got to help clean up. The time I got straight A's and my dad responded with, "That's expected of you." The Thanksgiving I spent working a double shift while they posted group family photos with captions like, "So blessed." By the time we turned onto their street, I wasn't even mad anymore. I was done. The driver parked in front of the house. I handed him a 20, told him to keep the change, and stepped out. Their porch looked exactly the same. Plastic fall wreath on the door. Welcome mat that hadn't meant it in years. That faint smell of cinnamon and emotional manipulation. I knocked once. Then again, louder. My mom answered. Lipstick pearls, that concerned expression she saved for funerals and when Chase's Instagram got hacked. "Tyler!" she gasped. "We didn't know you were coming." "Yeah," I said. "I figured that was the safest way to come by." She stepped aside, unsure whether to hug me or interrogate me. I walked in. Chase was on the couch. Same position. Same attitude. He was halfway through a sandwich and a rewatch of Fast and Furious 7, which felt aggressively on brand. "Bro," he said, mouth full. "Did you bring the car?" I didn't answer. My dad entered the room, folding a newspaper like he hadn't been eavesdropping from the hallway. "Tyler," he said, voice cautious. "Is this about the car? Because this has gone on long enough." "You're right," I said, pulling out a folded slip of paper from my pocket. "What's that?" Mom asked. "Bill of sale," I replied. "The car's gone." Silence. Then, "You what?" Chase barked, standing up like I'd insulted his Xbox. "I sold it," I said. "Clean deal. Cash buyer. She's already driving it." My mom blinked like I'd just spoken another language. "You sold your car?" she asked, stunned. I nodded. "Yep. But Chase needs it. That's not my problem." "You agreed," Dad said, jaw clenched. "No," I replied. I nodded to avoid an argument. Then I remembered I'm an adult who doesn't need to keep getting kicked in the teeth to be considered family. My mom's voice went soft, the way it always did when she wanted to guilt me back into line. "We were just trying to help Chase recover. He's had a rough time." "So have I said. "But I don't remember anyone offering to help when I was working 2 jobs to buy that car." Chase muttered. "So you just sold it out of spite?" "No. I sold it because I finally realized I don't owe anyone my silence or my steering wheel." There was a long, awkward silence. Then my dad said, "You'll regret this." I smiled, but there wasn't much joy in it. "No. I regret thinking I ever needed to earn your respect by giving things up." Chase scoffed. "So how are you getting home, genius?" I pulled out my phone and waved it. "Taxi's waiting." Their faces were a mix of confusion, embarrassment, and something else they weren't used to feeling when I was around. Powerlessness. I opened the door, took one last look around the living room, and said, "Thanks for the memories. Keep 'em. I'm driving my own story now, even if it's in the back seat of a cab." Then I left. The cab ride back to my apartment was oddly peaceful. The driver asked if I wanted music. I said no. Just the windows down. We didn't talk after that, just let the warm Carolina air fill the silence. And maybe that's what I needed. Silence. A clean break from the endless justifications, guilt trips, and Chase-centric monologues disguised as family meetings. When I got home, I ordered takeout, took a shower, and collapsed into bed fully dressed. I slept like I hadn't in years. No late-night texts. No Chase calling for a quick favor. No guilt boomerangs ricocheting around my skull. Just rest. I expected a call the next morning. A text. Something. But there was nothing. "No. We need to talk." "No. We didn't mean it like that." "No. Why would you humiliate us like this?" Just radio silence. Honestly, I wasn't sure if they were shocked, embarrassed, or just strategizing a new way to spin the narrative. But by the end of the week, I got my answer. Chase posted a photo on Instagram. It was a mirror selfie, of course. Aviators. Fresh haircut. Captioned, "New wheels soon. Can't keep a real one down." I checked the comments. "Keep grinding, King. Bounce back, SCN fire. You're so strong for surviving so much." Surviving what? Consequences? And then I saw it. A comment from Mom's account. "So proud of you. You always rise above negativity, sparkling heart." Negativity. She meant me. That was the moment something shifted in my chest. It wasn't rage. It wasn't even sadness. It was detachment. Like I'd been treading water for years, waiting for a lifeboat, and suddenly realized I could swim to shore on my own. 2 days later, Sam dropped by with tacos and a 6-pack. We sat on my balcony, eating and talking about everything but family until I finally told him about the Instagram post. He didn't react at first. Just took a long sip of his drink and said, "You know what the wildest part is?" "What?" "They think you're the problem." I snorted. I always was. I just didn't know it until I stopped playing along. He nodded. What now? I looked around, at the tiny apartment, the parking spot that now sat empty, the new piece humming under my skin like a background song finally turned up. I don't know, I said. But for the first time, I don't feel like I'm waiting to be asked to prove I belong somewhere. Damn, Sam said. That's therapy talk. I've been journaling, I admitted. He raised an eyebrow. With, like, actual pen and paper? Yeah. And feelings. I hate it. He laughed. Proud of you, man. I paused, then said, You know what's funny? What? I thought I'd missed them. And? I don't. That weekend, I got a letter in the mail. From my parents. It was a single page. Typed. Formal. It read, We're disappointed in how you handled things. This could have been an opportunity for healing. Instead, you've chosen division. Your actions have caused pain, and we hope you reflect on that. Chase is moving forward. We suggest you do the same. No apology. No acknowledgement. Just a polite middle finger with Times New Roman formatting. I folded it once and dropped it in the trash. Didn't even blink. It was a regular Tuesday, the kind where nothing interesting happens unless you count dropping your burrito and catching it mid-fall with ninja reflexes. I was working from home, catching up on scheduling and invoices when I heard it. A knock at the door. Not a package delivery. Not the neighbor needing to borrow duct tape again. It was soft. Hesitant. The kind of knock that says, Please don't yell at me. I stood up slowly and opened the door just a crack. And there she was. My mother. Wearing a cardigan and sunglasses, the classic. I'm here to be civil but still control the narrative. Combo. Hi, sweetheart, she said. I didn't say anything. She shifted her weight. Can we talk? Just a few minutes. No drama. No yelling. I stepped back, leaving the door open. She took that as a yes. Inside, she looked around like she hadn't been there before. She had, of course, years ago, back when she dropped off a blender for my first apartment and critiqued the curtains I could barely afford. She didn't sit. Just stood near the counter, clutching her purse like it held emotional leverage. I wanted to check on you, she said. We haven't heard much. Guess that makes two of us. She winced but recovered. Listen, I know this situation with the car escalated. Escalated? I echoed. You demanded I hand over my car and called me selfish when I didn't. She opened her mouth, then closed it. Tried again. We never meant to hurt you. But you did. There it was. Silence. Then she said, Chase got a new car. Your father co-signed. Of course. But he's going through a rough patch emotionally. I laughed, couldn't help it. She frowned. That's not fair. No, what's not fair is being asked to sacrifice every time someone else makes a mess. She lowered her voice like we were in church. Your father was disappointed. But he's not as cold as he seemed. Oh, I believe he's cold, I said. Just not disappointed. She exhaled through her nose. We're trying, Tyler. This family's been through a lot. I've been through a lot. I corrected. You just didn't notice. She looked down. For the first time, she didn't have a follow-up. Then she reached into her purse and pulled out a card. Handwritten. Heavy cream paper. Like she was about to invite me to an apology-themed baby shower. We're hosting a small dinner next week, she said. Just us. A reset. You're welcome to come. I didn't take the card. She set it on the counter. Then added, You don't have to forgive everyone. Just don't cut yourself off from the chance to heal. I stared at her. And for a second I saw it, not remorse. Not even clarity. But fear. Not of me. Of irrelevance. Because for the first time, I wasn't orbiting them. I wasn't playing the good son, the backup plan, the duct tape holding the family's fragile pride together. I was just me. And they couldn't reach me the same way anymore. She gave a tight smile, nodded once, and walked out. No hug. No, I love you. Just footsteps down the hall and a door that clicked shut. That night, I picked up the card and stared at it. It said, "You're always welcome. Love, Mom." And under that, a postscript. "Don't let one bad moment undo a lifetime of love." I flipped it over and scribbled my own note. One bad moment didn't. 1,000 small ones did. Then I dropped it in the trash. Right next to the letter from Dad. A week after my mom's visit, I found myself walking to the grocery store. No car. No backup ride. Just me and a pair of sneakers that were hanging on by sheer willpower and stubborn tread. It was weird at first, how quiet life felt without an engine always waiting outside. But it wasn't a bad kind of quiet. More like stillness. Like the world had finally stopped buzzing long enough for me to hear myself think. And not the anxious, spiraling kind of thinking either. The kind where your chest isn't tight. Where your jaw isn't clenched. Where you're just breathing. I passed a used bookstore I'd probably driven past 100 times without noticing. This time I stopped. Wandered in. Let the smell of old pages and forgotten stories wrap around me like a blanket that didn't care who I used to be. One book caught my eye, spine cracked, corners dog-eared, cover barely hanging on. I flipped it open and found a note scribbled in the margins. "You don't need permission to begin again." I bought it. Not because I believed it fully yet, but because maybe I wanted to. Later that week, Sam picked me up to grab tacos and get the kind of advice you only get from a friend who's seen you cry after dropping a quesadilla. "You look suspiciously calm," he said, sliding into the booth with a giant horchata. "You finally join a cult or just lower your expectations for humanity?" "I deleted the family group chat," I said. "That's basically both." He raised his drink like a toast. "To emotional boundaries and mediocre family dinners never attended. Cheers." I told him about the Instagram post. About the letter. About the quiet that followed. He just nodded, like none of it surprised him. "You know," he said after a while, "the hardest part of healing is realizing you were never crazy. Just constantly invalidated." I stared at him. "You read that off a fortune cookie?" Reddit comment section. But still true. The next morning, I opened my mailbox and found an envelope. Claudia, the woman who bought my Corolla. Inside was a thank you card and a photo. Her son, maybe 10, sitting in the front seat, beaming like he just won the lottery. "Thank you again. This car changed more than my commute. It gave us a chance to breathe again. You didn't just sell something. You gave us space to move." I sat down at the kitchen table and just looked at it. That car was never meant to be a favor to someone who wrecked theirs drag racing near a Walgreens. It was meant to carry someone forward. And it had. That afternoon, I got a voicemail. Unknown number. I almost didn't listen. But curiosity won. It was Chase. "Hey, don't know if you'll even listen to this. I just wanted to say, I'm not mad. Not anymore. I get it. I know I've messed up. A lot. And I know you're probably done with us. I guess I just wanted you to know. I'm not blaming you. You did what you had to do." There was a pause. Then, "I hope you're doing all right." It was the first real sentence I'd heard from him in years that didn't involve excuses, jokes, or requests. And I didn't know what to do with it. Was it an apology? Not quite. But maybe it was a crack in the wall. And cracks, as I've learned, let light in. That night I took a walk. No car. No destination. Just sneakers and a breeze that didn't owe me anything. The streets were quiet. The stars were out. I passed a couple walking a dog, an older man watering his lawn, a teenager biking home with a backpack bigger than his torso. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel like I was chasing something. Not their validation. Not a seat at their table. Not a hand-me-down version of love. Just walking. Breathing. Living. You don't need a car to move forward. You don't need a family's approval to matter. And you definitely don't need to keep showing up to your own mistreatment just because someone tells you. That's what good sons do. Sometimes the best thing you can do is sell the car. and walk away. A few weeks passed. No more letters. No more calls. No more group chats trying to check in, with the same tone you'd use on a customer threatening to leave a Yelp review. It was just me, my space, and the slow rebuilding of a life I never knew was mine to shape. I'd started riding my bike to job sites when I could. Borrowed Sam's car when I couldn't. And weirdly, I didn't miss having one of my own. It was like I'd sold the weight along with the wheels. Freedom wasn't in horsepower, it was in boundaries. One morning, I stopped by the corner coffee shop I used to drive past in a rush. The barista recognized me from the bookstore across the street. "Back again, huh?" she said. "You're like our new regular." I smiled. Guess I finally slowed down enough to notice things. She handed me a cappuccino with a heart in the foam. "Welcome to the neighborhood. Took you long enough." I sat by the window, watching people rush around, and thought about how much I used to do the same. Constantly running, to meet expectations, to avoid confrontation, to earn love that came with conditions. But not anymore. I'd stopped running. And nothing had fallen apart. One evening, Sam and I sat on my balcony again, feet propped on the rail, paper plates balanced on our knees. Burgers, cheap beer, and a sunset doing its thing like it didn't care who showed up. He nodded toward the empty parking spot below. "Still weird not seeing your car there." "Not really," I said. "That spot's not empty. It's open." He raised his bottle. "To open spaces." We clinked. I did eventually text Chase back. Just one line. "Hope you find your own version of forward." He didn't reply. And that was okay. Sometimes we wait too long for the people who hurt us to realize they did. Sometimes they never do. But that doesn't mean we stay frozen. It doesn't mean we hold out hope in exchange for healing. It means we move anyway. The next time my mom emailed, it was short. "Are you coming home for the holidays?" I stared at the screen. Then typed, "I am home," and hit send. Because the truth is, when you spend your whole life trying to be useful just to stay visible, you forget something important. You were never supposed to be a tool in someone else's story. You were supposed to be the author of your own. And that's what I'm doing now. Riding forward. No steering wheel. No strings. Just me. Not for sale.